Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning to attend our Importing Goods seminar, which is just a very brief webinar for you today, but hopefully it's going to fill you with lots of information. So this is the 2 months to go to the end of the EU transition. Okay, and if we could go on to the next slide, please, Sophie. So, I am Mandy Haque. I'm the International Director at the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce. I'm welcoming you this morning, and I just want to make you aware that at the Chamber here we've got a lot of support that can help you, which I'll give you a little bit of a brief shortly. But this is how the webinar is going to play out today. So we're going to hear a fantastic presentation from Michal Gierat, who is the Managing Director of WM International Ltd, one of our local freight forwarders, but Michal will be able to give us much more information on that very shortly. And then it's over to you really, because what we really want is for you to get the most out of this session. So we are going to give you lots of information. This is a real taster for you. So you will have that ability to now think about, have I done everything? What else do I need to do? It's not too late for all of you out there, so please do listen carefully. We are recording this session. We will upload it. You can listen to all the information again, and we will be here to help you afterwards. So at 11:30 or roundabouts, we'll be taking questions from yourselves. And we'd like you to use that Q&A box, but I will scan the chat as well and make sure that we're covering as much as we possibly can today. However, if we can't get there, then we will be able to respond to you afterwards. So please do still put your comments in. We'll do our best. Then we're going to close off at about 11:45. But this is part of a series of events that we're hosting. If you've got any technical difficulties, then please do let us know in the chat box, because Sophie from the Chamber team is here to support you on that as well. And if we can have the next one, please, Sophie. So, Brexit business support. Well, it's been going on for, what, over 4 years now? But we've teamed up with the West Midlands Combined Authority region to be able to present this webinar to you today, and that incorporates the Greater Birmingham Chambers of Commerce, the Black Country Chamber of Commerce, and also the Coventry and Warwickshire Chamber of Commerce. And if you do go to the Greater Birmingham Chambers website, /Brexit, you will then find all of the support that we've got on offer. You'll also find there all of the relevant training courses. And currently, we do all have an amount of funding that we are able to share with you. So some of those courses we'll be able to offer you some free places on to be able to upskill your knowledge in time for the end of the EU transition. We're not going to have it for much longer because it has been really successful, but I really do urge you to have a look at those Brexit courses that we have between all three chambers and get signed up for them. Okay, can we have the next one, please, Sophie? And here they are. So we've got coming up with the digital workshop on intellectual property, 3rd of November, 11 till 12. So if that is relevant to you, these are all free of charge digital workshops, and there will be more coming up. So please do check in on that. The training courses, so they are being hosted by all three chambers, and the next training course we have is here being hosted by myself, actually, all virtual, 29th of October. We do have some places still available for that, so please do get in touch afterwards. You can see the support at the bottom there, how to get in touch. I would urge you to use the email address rather than the phone at the moment. Customs declarations training, really important for those of you that feel that you're going to need to do those. And hopefully today, after what Michal has to share with you, you will understand more about if you will require them. And please do look at that one. Import training, the introduction to export. I know we're talking about imports today, but of course a lot of us will import to export. So please do have a look at that one, introduction. So if you've got any new starters, you can take advantage of that. And rules of origin is a new one that I've just put on this slide for you, because that's going to be so important as we get to the end of this year. And there'll be lots of changes for us. And so we've left it till as late as we possibly can to be able to host this particular course. So there is lots going on. And I think with that, we can go over now to the next slide. And we can have a chat with Michal and hear Michal's presentation, and then go to Q&A at the end. Over to you, Michal.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michal Gierat. I'm Managing Director of a local customs clearance and freight forwarding agency, WM International. I've been given this privilege and was invited as a guest speaker by the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce to give this speech about importation. This speech will be about only certain aspects of the Brexit implications for the importers who have been and still planning to keep sourcing goods, different commodities, from traders based in the European Union. Before I start, however, I want to say what I will not be tackling nor addressing in this webinar. I will not be talking much about the actual customs procedures as such, because I believe this webinar is targeted for the traders at the first instance, rather than to customs brokers. I will not be elaborating also about something very important, GVMS, Goods Vehicle Movement System, which is still under construction and is meant to record the incoming, outgoing, and in-transit movements for something what is called non-inventory linked ports. This new additional system actually is meant to be fully working only from the 1st of July next year for all imports. I will also have to give in discussing the Northern Ireland Protocol, as well as the very particular and interesting status of Northern Ireland after the 1st of January 21. I will not also touch the topics of the controlled goods. Since I was asked to focus on importation, I will not say much either about exports and different complexities that leaving European Union by us, by our country, will imply. All these topics, I think, need separate, much thorough webinars. Slide 2, please. In today's webinar, I will draw our attention to the import procedures, which I hope will get somehow easier to comprehend for non-professionals in customs procedures. We at WM International believe that importers whom we serve should rather focus on their commercial activities and leave the customs to the third parties like freight forwarders or customs brokers. Ladies and gentlemen, Benjamin Franklin had once said, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes." Who would have guessed that Franklin predicted that special bond between Halloween and Brexit? In order to delay the former, the death, and to minimize the latter, the taxes, we need to make sure that we are prepared well to processes which most of us have never had to work with before. What are Incoterms? What are the commodity codes? What's customs declaration? Why do they keep talking about duties And VAT payments, what postponements, what easements? All these questions are to open up our eyes on a vast area of more technical procedures and strategies available around the new UK customs regime. Surveys, now I'm quoting KGH Customs, suggest that only 25% of the British companies have begun any type of Brexit preparation before the 1st of October this year. Leaving the European single market will bring fundamental changes for traders who have been importing as well as exporting from countries belonging to the European community. We may say that the idea of the common market, where it is quite irrelevant and somehow indifferent whether we are buying from Northampton or from Sevilla, from Krakow or from Munich, because we are still talking about one EU internal market, has taught us that making business internationally is quite easy. As long as the products were either produced or wholly made or simply introduced into the free circulation in one of the EU countries, which means basically where import duty and VAT was paid in one of these countries, the following products could be distributed in all EU member states. The transport flow of these goods have not really been controlled custom-wise, as there was one unified customs territory of European Union and the internal market, to which United Kingdom has belonged since 1986. This now is going to change. United Kingdom left the European Union at 2300 hours on the 31st of January this year. However, which is very important, we are still in something what is called customs union. This will now happen on the New Year's Day, when most of us will rather be thinking of opening another bottle of champagne, rather than of how importing this bottle of champagne will now be affected, or how it will be happening from next day. The political outcome of the negotiations between Lord Frost and Monsieur Barnier may have a rather secondary impact on the process and procedures, while the crucial information is any goods imported from the European Union will now need customs declaration. By leaving the unified European market, we decided to leave the Union Customs Code, which establishes the conditions of trade with non-EU countries. And we will now follow UK Taxation Act, published in 2018, 2 years after Brexit referendum. I'm pretty sure that although most of us never dealt nor seen the customs declaration as such, we all understand the general idea of imposing customs duties and taxes on imported and sometimes exported goods. Contemporarily, the first and the most important factor is to regulate and stimulate the internal market, internal production and consumption. Also, an element of macroeconomic statistics, as well as safety and security controls, play a very important role in customs procedures. Before I will share a handful of practical advices on what every trader like yourself should prepare within the next 2 months, if you haven't done it as yet, I want to go quickly through more practical recommendations. I must admit that even for specialists certified in customs procedures, the new customs legislations for at least the first 6 months seems to be neither straightforward nor fully obvious. Slide 3, please. An import process starts when basically two international parties agree that there are goods in another country that buyer wants to buy and the seller wants to sell. Import procedures can therefore be treated as a continuation to logically prior export procedures. The famous Incoterms should always be defined as precisely as possible and agreed before any trade has begun. The new Incoterms are set out every 10 years, and recently the new set of Incoterms 2020 Codex went live early this year. Incoterms covers the obligations between the buyer and the seller in cross-border movement. In vast majority of cases, it is exporter who takes responsibility to complete the export declaration in his own country. From the 1st of January 21, your European supplier must issue a zero VAT commercial invoice. They will have to put their own EU EORI number on and your GB EORI number, instead of just the VAT registration number as it was until now. The invoice must be followed by the packing list, which enlists all the commodities, their individual and aggregated values, volumes, and weights. Without going too deeply into the sole customs process, I want to say that many traders is still not aware in which Incoterms they have been or they want to move their goods further. In the internal market, the traders would agree the Incoterms by simply deciding who was to organize the transport of the goods. That's it. Normally, this party also paid for the service to the freight forwarders or to the hauliers. Now we need to define which of the two parties, exporter or importer, is to organize the transport. But apart from this, also who's going to pay for the export clearance declarations? Who will take the transit risks? Who will do the import and who will pay the import clearances? And most importantly, who is going to pay import duties and VAT? Simply speaking, we were normally opting until now between either ex-works terms or DDP, delivered duty paid. However, because the goods movement was happening inside one common market, no one had to really worry about the duties, VAT, and customs costs. Since these old fiscal obligations arise, the UK buyer, importer, if trading on ex-works terms, in order to submit the export declaration in your seller's country, would have to register himself, and establish in the EU country as the VAT payer. As an alternative to this quite extreme regime, there is something which is called FCA, Free Carrier Agreement, which obliges the seller to free the goods from the country, which implies also the export declaration, although the cost and the organization of the transport is on you as an importer. On the opposite pole, we get DDP terms, delivered duty paid, where the European seller is obliged to bring the goods to your importer's doors with not only export and transport part paid by him, but also with the import declaration and even paying the duties and VAT in the UK. This implies, again, the necessity for your European partner to be fully established in the UK as the VAT payer. The more practical solution, especially for importers who are supplied by small suppliers who may not know how to establish an entity in the UK, is Incoterms called DAP, delivery at place. Under this term, the importer, yourself, is obliged to organize the import clearance and pay both duties and VAT. As you can see, leaving the common market will have these additional financial implications which must be addressed by you and by your European partners. Be, however, always advised, Incoterms are only commercial terms. So you can modify them according to your will, according to your mutual agreements. If you are interested in my opinion about that, please don't hesitate to contact me after the webinar. Slide 4, please. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, in order to keep importing and exporting after the 1st of January, every importer and exporter must apply and get his own EORI number. It's the acronym of Economic Operator Registration and Identification Number, introduced by and in the European Union in 2009. Without this number, which gets your company registered in a database of active subjects to customs, there will be no possibility to do any clearances, thus imports, on your behalf. The customs bodies, both in the EU as well as in the UK, recognize your company after this particular number. So it is paramount to acquire your number as soon as possible. If you don't know how to do it, please Google on gov.uk and get an EORI number, or contact WM International or your local Chamber of Commerce to help you register. Slide 5, please. Secondly, no matter what goods we are bringing into the Great Britain from Europe, whether controlled or non-controlled, excise or neutral, please do apply for a duty deferment account. Main worry is, and this is one of the main reasons why I encourage strongly all my customers to do this, is that the number of import clearances will rise fivefold from 50 millions to 250 millions after the 1st of January. And their customs agents, as well as HMRC, as well as yourself, will need additional tools to streamline collections of duties, VAT, paying all the debts. It is possible to pay duties and VAT without the deferment account, but it is much more time-consuming and involving more processes, therefore will also be more expensive to service. Duty deferment account, approved by HMRC and guaranteed normally by the bank guarantor, defer the actual payments of customs debts until mid next month. There are plans at the moment that there might not be, the guarantees might not be necessary. So it may be even easier to get the deferment account without the guarantees, which are also costly. And again, if you didn't know how to apply for one, please don't hesitate to contact either your bank advisor or WM International or your local Chamber of Commerce for advice. Next slide. Thirdly, please liaise with a proven customs agent in order to discuss particularities of your business. I believe that no business is the same. And in order to assess the best customs solutions, the best customs strategy for you, for your imports. If you never ever needed it before, I do recommend customs professionals living and working locally, companies like ours, WM, or use one of the companies from the list of customs agent that is being published and updated on gov.uk. From my experience, I can say that many importers are still starting their Brexit preparations with actually this third point. And many customs agents are being asked to assist in the whole process of Brexit preparation from scratch, basically. The customs agents have both knowledge and systems. The systems, which I'm now talking about, the internal processes as well as IT systems, which are very often quite pricey. The customs agents have special authorizations to deal with HMRC on your behalf. But most importantly, we as customs agents have expertise, which is of a great value for importers and exporters when it comes to advising what customs declarations should actually contain of. The traders will now have to provide their customs brokers or freight forwarders with a handful of information far in advance. First information, now I will elaborate a little bit about what every declaration, import declaration needs, and what we as the customs agents will ask you to provide. First, the seller address, which doesn't always equal the actual collection point. The seller address with their EORI number. The buyer address, again, it doesn't have to be actual delivery point in the UK. It's actually sort of, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but it's not that crucial. What's crucial from the customs point of view is basically that you are the UK importer, and you will pay duty and VAT in the UK. Then the customs agent details with the EORI number on again. Commodity code, if I may ask for slide 7, please. Commodity code or codes of the goods which are to be imported with their commercial description. And this is a very, very important point. We must remember that all obligations and liabilities lay on the importer in terms of providing the customs broker with all correct commodity codes. Of course, normally it goes that if we feel that maybe a wrong commodity code has been provided by the customer, we sort of recommend maybe to look at something else. But at the end of the day, it is all the obligations and the responsibility, the fiscal responsibility lays on the importer. Checkup of the commodity codes will also give us information not only about the duty tariffs, but also whether the goods might need and what sort of licenses of permits, if we're talking about controlled goods, whether they are, for example, subjects to anti-dumping duties or not. This is very important because this commodity codes this is the real treasure, you may say. you have lots of information linked with the commodity code. Another very important point is country of origin. There will be a webinar organized by Birmingham Chamber of Commerce about the origin rules. I do recommend that because it's quite interesting subject, I would say, because we are going out from the EU, and we would need to sometimes import goods from Europe, which were not actually produced in Europe, but in China beforehand. So it's going to be very, very interesting subject. Of course, CPC codes. If I may ask for slide 8. The mode of transport you as importer decided to use to bring the goods into the UK. Next slide. What is the commercial value based on which the customs value and taxes will be calculated? Slide 10. And last but not least, what the weight of the imported shipment will be, how is it packed, and what is the number of items? Are goods on pallets, or are they loose, or are they in bundles? Slide 11. All this information has not been required while we're still in the EU and traded with another EU company, because the requirement for customs was waived for the internal market movements. The business entities were in fact the only parties involved in the export-import process. The state, as such, has not been involved in international trade as long as the parties were trading with non-controlled goods. From the 1st of January 21, the state, by the fact of customs declarations obligations, will become sort of additional party, a controller and a beneficent of the cross-border flow of goods, whether we like it or not. Another slide. As you probably see, the famous take back control will now receive a slightly different dimension. Slide 13. A better understanding of the process itself will allow the traders better prepare for the first 6 months, which we can call like a preferential 6 months for international trade, during which gradually the UK customs system will get prepared to full import declarations. Based on this preliminary information, our European supplier, normally using an outsourced customs agent, will be able to arrange an export customs declaration called normally EX1 or EAD, export accompanying document. Once EAD has been pre-lodged in the export country system, the customs systems generate two very important numbers. One number is called MRN, Movement Reference Number, and the other one is called EXS, Export Summary Declaration, which contains safety and security information about the goods. Once entry is submitted, the Export Customs Office controls the export declaration and either calls to inspect the goods physically in one of the customs posts or releases the goods for export. The driver can go. If the goods are being released based on export declaration, the driver must be equipped with all the documents and numbers along with CMRs and head for one of the EU points of exits, which most likely be one of the European ports from which can ship directly into the UK. Because statistically 85% of vehicles landing in the UK are using one of ports in France, one of the French ports, For the current needs of this webinar, I'm assuming that a loaded truck will be heading to one of these ports. The French government has been developing something which is called Smart Border System, which is meant to streamline the process of informing the border points about the vehicle's arrival to one of the departures, these exit points. To start that process, either the haulier or the freight forwarder will have to log in to a web-based portal called Enveloppe Logistique in order to inform the French systems about the coming trailer. This will generate another sort of master MRN number, which is represented by a number and barcode, which links the vehicle's registration plates with the goods which are on these trailers, which are on a trailer. There will be so far no need for UK safety and security declaration, which is also quite important, until the 1st of July. Once the vehicle gets to the French port, driver will just lodge the vehicle by scanning the barcode. That's the theory. This will trigger closing the export declaration and informs the EU customs systems that the goods are actually leaving the EU customs territory. Once the vehicle disembarks in England, the driver is to get a confirmation that he can either go straight on to the delivery point, or he must go to one of the border control points for inspection of the incoming goods. From my talks with some officials, the plan is that the drivers will basically get a text SMS message while they are either on ferry or crossing the Eurotunnel, whether they are okay and free to go, or they need to go just to get the goods inspected. Before the driver leaves the country of exportation, the respective import clearance, now we're again coming back to our main topic about import declaration. Import clearance should be prepared by the UK importer, which happens normally with hands of the customs representative like WM or any other freight forwarding company. An appointed customs agent is pre-lodging the import declaration using quite sophisticated customs software and having to pay for links with the HMRC servers via some systems or intermediaries called CSPs. And now, as long as we have no control over the part of the importation procedures in Europe, we do have control, or we are getting back this control over how and what can be done with the imported goods while they are already physically in the UK. The UK government has published two very important documents regarding the trade with the EU after the 1st of January 21. First document, published mid-May, is called UK Global Tariffs, and two is the two versions, actually the updated versions of Border Operating Model, in which both importers, exporters, and customs brokers can get enough information how to prepare ourselves formally, technically, to new regimes, to new customs regimes, as well as we can learn a lot about some easements, what sort of temporary support the UK government is offering to the importers and to basically all the parties involved. Now I will elaborate a little bit about these easements. Slide 14, please. First of all, delayed or deferred customs declarations. So EIDR deferred declarations or delayed declarations in the updated version, it's now called more delayed declarations. When you defer the final clearance maximum 6 months after arrival of the goods into the UK, based on one of the customs simplifications called EIDR, Entry in Declarant's Records. This doesn't mean that there will be no need for declaring the imported goods, but basically us as the customs agent will have to create like a formal entry, like a job into our system and keep it as it is. And this will sort of be enough, a sufficient customs entry. However, there will still be need to entering at least 13 different information within the next 6 months to prepare and to lodge a proper clearance after 6 months. So all January imports of yours, for example, can be cleared. No, they must be cleared by the end of July, February by the end of August. Before the 6 months gone past, there will have to be this something which is called supplementary declaration created, and what is crucial, all the taxes and the duties paid. Another solution is simplified frontier declaration, which is basically it's sort of similar to the previous one, yet the supplementary declaration must be submitted by the 4th working day of the following month. However, in this scenario, there will be a different regime about the VAT deferment. Please note that these two simplified procedures will not be valid for the controlled goods. So controlled goods which need licenses or special permits. These type of goods will need the full standard import declaration from the 1st of January. Also, these simplified procedures will not be valid for the products of animal origin from the 1st of April. So basically only 3 months for if you are importing eggs or meat or chicken or meat. So basically this sort of simplification will be possible only for 3 months. So it's always a matter of whether it's actually good to simplify and to delay or not. And the third one is standard full import procedures, which is basically one of and the simplest type of an import declaration. When full details of an import are being input and goods are being cleared once disembarked and presented at the office of arrival. If the trader has his own duty deferment account or the customs agent is lending it to the importer, the VAT and the duty are indeed deferred until the 15th of the coming month. So the payment of the customs debts does not have to be paid straight away. Slide 15. There is and always been one more possible simplification, which may be of a great support for both exporters and importers, called transit procedures. I will not elaborate now because time is running about this. It's something which is definitely to think about because basically the goods are the duty and VAT is being suspended as long as basically importer wants, because the goods are going to the bonded warehouse and can stay there without sudden or immediate payment. I would also suggest or recommend looking at gov.uk and learn a little bit about authorized consignee when importer decides to pay which gives actually authorized consignee status gives the right to close the transit documents. It's very important. One of the main novelties that the UK government, and this is I will be finishing in 2 minutes. One of the main novelties that the UK government is introducing from the 1st of January is called postponed accounting for import VAT. The traders allowed to use the simplified procedures will have to account for import VAT on their VAT return for the goods imported not only from the European Union. I think it's a very, very interesting alternative for all importers. This means that the importer can be declaring and recovering import VAT on the periodic VAT return without having to pay it upfront or recover or recover it later. All these facilitations are to help business in case of the non-deal Brexit, as will help keep cash flow as long as at least until mid-2021. And again, in order to use the facilitation of the postponed VAT accounting, the traders must have both EORI and VAT registered in the UK. Many customs agents I spoke to would rather suggest doing the full standard import declarations from day one with VAT and duty paid on importation. Please be aware that in simplified procedures, only the VAT part can be delayed and accounted in quarterly VAT accounted. Only VAT part. You yourself will have to, this is another disadvantage, because you as an importer will have to calculate the VAT amount due on each single shipment, because the chief system, the customs systems, will not calculate it automatically if we put the postponed facility on it. And yet the duty, if due, it will be due if there is no deal basically, will either have to be paid upfront or deferred until the 15th of the following month. We use the deferment account, don't we? The deferment account will normally need comprehensive guarantee. However, I've already mentioned about that, one of the easements foreseen for the businesses may be that we will not need the customs comprehensive guarantee. Slide 16, please. The topic of deferment account, but also possible simplified procedures, is directing us to the last, I would say, very important issue I want to mention about today, AEO accreditation. Many British companies still sort of treat AEO as something not really worth considering or spending time on. And I think it's actually wrong. Now, when Brexit hits for good or bad, AEO can be of an immense help and support to businesses as one of the tools proving the compliancy, transparency of running the businesses. These two aspects are crucial in building the business trust, which customs bodies like HMRC or Border Force, who will appreciate the fact that you will have AEO on many different occasions in various ways, from waiving guarantees, so we have this saving money element, up to potentially much less controls of your imports, up to gaining statuses very much easier, the statuses of authorized consignees or consigners if you export, which are crucial also from the transit declarations and simplifications perspective. I myself feel that the weeks spent on aligning with the AEO requirements last year was really good investment. So again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are thinking about preparing well to Brexit, you can always discuss AEO with your local Chamber of Commerce. You can give me a call. You can talk to your freight forwarding companies. And this is it for today. I've already taken more time than I expected, and probably yourself as well. So I do apologize for that. And I do thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Michal. I mean, what an amount of information there for everybody to take in. So you'll be very pleased to know that we have recorded the session, and we will upload that for you, because I think importing is one of those areas where there is a lot that we need to understand, and there's a lot of support out there for exporters, but importing is, I knew that we'd get a good audience on this one for you, Michal, because there's so much detail. So what we will do is, I know we've run over, if anybody does have any questions, to put them in the Q&A box. I will, try to take them, but I am conscious that the time has run on. But if I can just really try and briefly summarise a little of what you've said, which is going to be really hard. But it's so important that people understand their INCO terms, so international commercial terms, where the obligations and the risks lie between buyers and sellers, isn't it, for importers? Yes. That everybody goes and gets the EORI number that they really do need for this, and it's quite a simple process, but we can support at the chambers, or yourself as well, and I know your contact details are being shared afterwards. Really important for people to consider that if they are needing import declarations, that they have a duty deferment account, look into setting up their own duty deferment account, and then who is going to provide that customs declaration. And I know that freight forwarders such as yourselves at WM International do provide that service, and to complement freight forwarders as well, chambers have also been trained to deliver that service of customs declarations, because you're quite right, you did mention it in part of your presentation that it is going to increase, and the British Chambers predict that the volumes of customs declarations will increase fivefold to what they currently are. So the more people that are trained to be able to deliver them, the better. However, this is the first thing you've done today about your imports coming on our taster session, then this is a great start for you, because it's not a quick process to just pick up the phone on the 1st of January and say, quick, can you do our customs declarations? Okay, so there's processes that we need to go through. So please be aware of that. And any support that you require on imports and exports, we've got Michal, and we've also got our chamber colleagues at the Birmingham Chamber and the Coventry and Warwickshire and the Black Country Chamber that can support you. So please do use us. We are a support there for you. And if we don't know the answer, we'll go and look for the answer for you, all right? So let me just see if we've got anything that's come in whilst we've been talking. Thank you, Luke. Great presentation for you, Michal. And talking about the impact of the business, and Luke has also said that he's happy to discuss with the foreign exchange side of things, so a very valuable member to us at Western Union at the Greater Birmingham Chambers. And the training courses that I mentioned earlier through the Combined Authority, so I want you to remember here, there is funding out there for you. There's funding through the Combined Authority, but it is very limited for you to attend some training courses. But there's also the Customs Intermediary Grant, and that is still there for you. And many of our members, and some of you are on this call today, have taken full advantage of that. And the grant is there for IT support, for training support. So we can share the link with you afterwards so that you can look at how you can really take advantage of getting some funding to support you through these customs declarations and the EU transition changes. Paul's asked a good question here, Paul Charman, about any idea where we will find out if deferment accounts will need a guarantee. Do you want to answer that one, Michal?
any idea when we will find out if the parents? Right. So as far as the documents on the gov.uk are presented, they say that something may be clarified after the 1st of November. So I have my own customers whom I secure with my deferment account at the moment, who are still delaying the application. I have also other customers who are saying, okay, let's go ahead with DDA at the moment with all the guarantees required. To be fair, I don't try to impose my personal opinion on it. So we can, in fact, Paul, we can wait probably, yeah, another week, maybe more. Much, I would say, much will depend on whether Monsieur Barnier and Lord Frost will get some sort of deal, and what deal they will get.
Okay. Martin's asking a question about one of the Incoterms, delivery duty paid. So are you sure that DDP terms cover VAT too?
Yes,
what do you think?
Yes, I'm pretty sure, because DDP as such covers everything. It's basically the seller is responsible for everything, for arranging the transport, the clearances, also for import, and all applicable taxes and duties. So, but as I mentioned before, and I always try to advise my customers, Incoterms, this is the abbreviation for international commercial terms. You can always set up something what you and your customer will call DDP. But for example, you as the importer will actually take the VAT payment on yourself. Or you can say this would be sort of DAP now. However, it would be, for example, your seller, exporter, who would pay duties, for example, to me, and I will clear the duty part from my deferment account, okay, and also the customs agent will charge for the import declarations and for lending this deferment account. The charge will go to your seller, but you will take, as the importer, the part for VAT, because you can always reclaim that VAT. You will get it back anyway, and that would be very, very helpful very often to your European suppliers.
Okay, I think we'll probably have to go to the last question. I'm conscious we're getting to 12 o'clock, so we've just slightly gone over here, but James Roberts has asked us a question about how is consumer business conducted via e-commerce affected in terms of this area? So yeah, we're always thinking about product, aren't we? But
yeah, e-commerce is a vast area at the moment. And to be fair, I'm sure that one of the webinars we could or the chamber could prepare could be only about the e-commerce after Brexit. There will be elements of paying duties, of paying because the goods will be inflowing into the UK from outside. Who will take this on, let's say, on the shoulders? How will it be dealt with by the courier companies? By it's still to be agreed. To be fair, this morning I was listening to a Brexit webinar before this one, to a Brexit webinar organized by the Polish equivalent of BIFA. And that was one of the hottest subjects. It was actually the Brexit webinar organized by the Polish equivalent of BIFA. This is still not fully explained. I would say this still needs some clarification.
Okay, well, thank you. And I know we were going to have a conversation about authorised economic operator as well and the benefits. And I know you've gone through the process, and just to understand, you know, what it really meant for you, just to elaborate on your final slide. But I'm sure it would be great to get that information, and we could then send it out to the participants for today's webinar. So now we're at 12 o'clock, so only a little bit over, but thank you so much to everybody for attending today. We'll upload it. We shall save these questions as well that we haven't managed to get through, and we'll ensure that Michal can give you the answers to those in a timely manner. So have a great rest of the day. Please do remember the other events and the training. If you need any support at all, contact us at the Chamber, contact Michal, and we are happy to help you. So thank you very much. Thank you, Michal.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mandy.